Hi, Dr. Beth. Thank you so much for your questions. Really, really great, insightful questions, and I'm excited to talk about them. So, the ACA Code of Ethics specifically says in two different sections how exactly we should go about impairment with ourselves and with our colleagues, even supervisors. In Code C2G on impairment, it talks about that counselors need to be aware of their own physical, mental, and emotional problems and seek assistance if necessary before they get to full-blown impairment. And it also says that counselors assist their colleagues or supervisors in recognizing their own professional impairment. So this just really goes into ourselves. Your question is specifically about our colleagues. So I'm going to skip down to the second place where the ACA Code of Ethics talks about impairment, and that is Code F.5.b. And that says students and supervisees monitor themselves, like I've already said, for impairment, but also it talks about, what to do whenever, that whole relationship between the colleague and the supervisor and how that works. They need to notify their faculty and their supervisors to seek assistance for problems that reach a level of professional impairment. And I believe, I'm interpreting this, in my opinion, I do believe that this is also talking about whenever a colleague of yours, you believe you've seen signs of impairment, whenever you see that, you should talk to them and you should offer assistance to them instead of just waiting for them to come to you or waiting for them to come to a supervisor. This obviously is to help prevent the overall wellness of the client from being harmed, as the counselor basically motto is do no harm. So the main goal is keeping the client completely well and taken care of. And so for counselors, if we see one of our colleagues, even a supervisor, in a very respectful manner, we need to point this out, any signs of impairment. So part of your question is, how would you approach him or her? For me, I would gently take them aside and I would share the signs that I've seen, ask them how they're feeling, and ask them, if they've talked to anyone about it yet. Maybe they could talk to me about it, or their supervisor. And that's the first step. Obviously, now you're asking about what the different potential responses are. So, if they're angry about this, then I would say, this is a very big deal. And if it's not corrected, then I will have to report this and give them a chance to correct this before you would have to go to that extreme. Obviously, you don't want to ever go to that extreme. But like I said, the overall wellness of the client is the most important thing. Also, another situation is if they're in denial, then maybe explain to them in great detail of, this is what I saw. Maybe even pull out the textbook from the master's degree or pull out the code of ethics and say, this is exactly where you have broken this code, and encourage them to seek counseling for themselves. Maybe take a break if, in extreme cases, terminate their professional responsibilities, at least temporarily. This would be very difficult to do, and I personally I do not like calling anyone out on things like that, especially if it's someone who might even be in more authority than I am. But it is necessary, and I believe, looking at the code of ethics, it is ethical to do this, and hopefully they would respond without anger and without denial, and respond with gratefulness and seek help for themselves, take care of themselves, maybe go to counseling themselves as well. Thank you so much for your question.